Hi, I'm Eileen Roche from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and I am excited to be here with you today. For 20 years, I've been sharing solutions for the home embroiderer, and recently I started a top 10 gift list, top 10 list of the gifts I like to make for this holiday season 2019. We started, about 8 weeks ago, I guess, maybe 9 because of the Thanksgiving holiday, and our first project that was my favorite gift was embroidered jewelry, like I'm wearing right here. And then we moved on to an eyeglass case made in the hoop, embroidered patches, personalized ball caps, metallic snowflake ornaments, all made in the hoop, t-shirt remakes, a trendy clutch, and then notebooks that were also made in the hoop. This week, gift number 2 is one that you can get in almost any home store all over America. You can find them in Walmart, Target, Macy's, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, you name it. You can find them anywhere. In fact, my grocery store even carries them at this time of year. They are embroidered throws. Throws are something that everybody loves. They're great to embellish, to customize for people on your gift list. But because there's such a wide variety of them available to us, that means they come in a wide variety of fabrics, which can be challenging to embroider on. So that's when you need the help of an expert. And let me tell you, I might be considered an expert, but there's somebody who has more experience than me. And I often go to her when I have an embroidery question. And that's our in-house expert, Deborah Jones. Deborah Jones, come join us.
Hi, Eileen. It's great to be here. And, you've really got some great gifts on your list. And I think people can even go back and watch some of those, can't they, if they miss?
That's right. Yes, you can go into our video feed on Facebook. Just click on videos and you'll see all of the past Facebook Live. And we're also on YouTube now simultaneously. So if you'd rather be on YouTube, that's great. Subscribe to our channel and that will let you get notified when we're going live and when a new video is posted. So before we get started, maybe we should check in and see if there's any comments that people have. Maybe some people have been already making some of these projects. Right. So I'd love to hear about that. So in a second, we'll get those comments up. We have a lot of things going on here. Oh, hi, Joanne Banco. Nice to see you. And Kathy Jolly, Bill Akins in Tennessee. Very nice to have everybody. It is really great to be here. It's so nice to be able to talk to people, isn't it?
It sure is. This technology is wonderful.
I know. I mean, goodness gracious, you get to connect with other embroiderers. It's always been my favorite thing of going to an event is being in a room full of people that share the same passion.
Right. And here we can do it every week.
I know. It's really cool. So thanks for joining us. Okay. We have some great samples to share. So how about if we go over to camera 2 and show what those samples are. So we have here a faux suede. Now, Deborah, you created this one, and you must have made this for somebody who really likes the outdoors.
I did, and I used a fur on that elk and on the faux suede. So that was a very fun project. It's backed with the Sherpa, so that's a really cozy throw.
Yeah, very nice. And then we have this is a chenille. So this is a stretchy, very loopy chenille. And I have tackled this with several different techniques. We'll talk about that in detail. But isn't that fun? And when those great big pom-poms, oh my goodness, I love it. Yes, that's a beautiful font. That's built into Perfect Embroidery Pro. That's my software. I know it is yours too, Deborah.
Right.
And then we have like a man's kind of tweed look. This is a very masculine throw. I love this. Quite elegant.
Any man would love that.
Yes, absolutely. And, tweeds, because there's 2 colors, that presents some challenges. We'll talk about that. And then, oh my gosh, talk about a crowd favorite. Everywhere you look today is buffalo plaid. Yeah, so let's bring one over. Shall we start with the buffalo plaid?
Sure,
okay.
Let's look at that one.
All right. So the buffalo plaid is, like I said in my blog yesterday, it's everywhere. My goodness, right. It's on kitchen towels. It's on pot holders, aprons, sweatshirts, T-shirts, you name it.
Baby clothes.
Yeah, right, right. So this is a stretchy fleece. And I used water-soluble stabilizer on top. which we know is a temporary situation.
Sure.
But, you know, this isn't a high loft. So I think it's
Absolutely
the right application.
You bet.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we should remember that all fleece is a knit technically. So some are stretchier than others. This one's got a good amount of stretch, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And you used the water soluble topping. So, you know, our viewers might like to know a couple of good tips to remove that.
Oh, that'd be great. Sure. Go ahead, Deborah.
One of my favorites is to mix 1 part fabric softener with 12 parts water and put it in a spray bottle. So of course you're going to tear off the big pieces. Yeah. And then when you spray, it kind of eats up what's left. Because if you've ever removed wallpaper, you know that fabric softener acts, it just eats up the adhesive or the glue. And that's basically what this is. Yeah. And that gives it a nice fresh scent. So you put this in a box, and when the recipient opens it, it has that wonderful fabric softener smell. But another technique that you can use is to pull off the big parts. And, you know, you get pieces trapped in these little openings like we have right here, that small opening in that one.
Sure.
And sometimes they're kind of hard to get out. So you can put a moist paper towel or coffee filter over the area and iron it dry. And when you pull it away, every bit of the top comes
all that residue just sticks to that fabric, that paper. That's awesome. Yeah. So the stabilizer on the wrong side is a soft tearaway. Because, you know, this is a throw. Now, it's not going to be beautiful on the back, but we don't want a cutaway stabilizer that would be permanently have a square there. So that's why I used a tearaway. And
you were right, in my view, to use that soft tearaway because, as we said, this is a knit.
Right.
So a regular tearaway that most of us use for general embroidery is a firm or a crisp tearaway. And it's kind of like paper. Yeah. And it tears like paper. Okay. So that is good for keeping your satin stitches nice and uniform on a stable fabric. But when you're working with a knit, it's going to over perforate and there will be not enough support there.
I see.
So instead, we like to use a soft tearaway that is a hybrid between a tearaway and a cutaway. So it's much softer. It doesn't have that rattle. And when you tear it, it tears fuzzy. And when it's been stitched or perforated with a needle, it does tear pretty clean, not like raggedy like you see here. Right. But it's got these longer fibers, and that's what lets it have the additional support.
And then when you wash, it's gone.
Sure.
It's like on the outside of the embroidery, which is really what you want. Yeah, so that's nice. Okay, so let's bring another one in. How about, well, let's talk about your faux suede, because this is really a beautiful throw that you made. So talk to us about this.
Okay. Well, this faux suede, you know, you could treat it a lot like you would a natural suede.
Okay.
And, you know, it's got, as you can see, I used a soft tearaway with it. But more importantly on this, I used a needle that's appropriate for the suede. Okay. Because, you know, suede wants to grab hold of your needle. When it goes on its upstroke, sometimes it can get caught or the thread gets caught by the closure of that fabric.
And let me interrupt. Sometimes on your machine, you'll hear your hoop banging. And that's why that needle cannot escape the fabric. The fabric's closing up on the needle.
Exactly. So, you know, you want to be sure that you use a needle that makes a big enough penetration to give the thread room to escape. So either use a larger ballpoint or a larger blade.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so let's go over to that man's tweed. Okay. So because this is a gray and, well, it's two tones of gray, like a very dark gray and then a lighter one. You know, my inclination is to go to a gray thread because to stay monochromatic and all that, I know this person, what his home looks like and so forth, and it would be beautiful. But I also know no matter what gray I put on here, it's just going to dissolve. I mean, it's going to be invisible, and all my beautiful work nobody will know.
Because no matter what, some part of that letter is going to cross that shade of gray.
Right, absolutely. So I went bold, you know, even though it's for men. Usually with men, I do it more tone on tone, but absolutely the black is what really solved that. And on the wrong side, I used a black tearaway and a black bobbin. So when this is gone, you know, well, of course, it's a monogram, so it'll be a mirror image. But anyway, it won't be that unsightly white.
It's a very aesthetically pleasing stabilizer when you have a very dark color, navy, black, dark brown.
Now, I didn't use any topper on this, but I did add some extra fill to that satin. And we're going to talk about that in a minute on the other one that we looked at.
It came out beautifully nice. Good coverage.
Yes, good coverage. I was happy with this. Did we talk about big bold prints?
We didn't.
We skipped that.
But yes, you're right. You know, Eileen, I love what you did here because the scale of that monogram is what makes it jump off that plaid.
Yeah, and when you're working with a big, bold geometric print, like a buffalo plaid, two things to keep in mind. One is contrasting thread color. So here I used a cream. And, you know, no reds, no blacks, because that would, again, just dissolve. And I went with a swirly monogram, so it wouldn't compete with all these geometric lines. Geometric letters tend to look like they're off center or misplaced when they are placed on a bold geometric like this.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and my letters are bigger than this print. So this print is about an inch and a half. You know, we don't measure these things, but, you know, you just eyeball it and use it as a good rule of thumb.
And, you know, I'm so glad you showed that because often we're afraid to choose a print to embroider on.
Yeah, and you can, for sure. Right. And you don't always have to use applique. I think that's where we kind of cheat, right? So, because really, that's what I said to Deborah. I said, well, I'll just put an applique on there. She said, well, you know, you could. She gave me one of those comments, right? All right, let's see. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this beautiful, beautiful furry thing, how cute is this with these oversized pom-poms? I wish I could take credit for that, but, you know, they were there when I purchased it. So what I did on this, I used a light fill all the way behind this whole monogram.
Which in our software we call the net blocker.
Right. And so when I make my monogram, you know, I just then right click and there's on the drop down menu, it says utility, and I go to utility and it says add nap blocker, which I did. And I have the opportunity to tell it what distance I want that light fill to surround the monogram. And I just use the default setting, which is like 0.04 inches, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, but you know, you probably can't see it. So I stitched out something on a towel so you could see what I'm talking about. So here is that monogram, same monogram. See that white thread? That's the nap blocker fill. It allows the color of the base fabric to bleed through, so you're not going to get complete coverage. Its job is to just smash down those fibers. That's all it's doing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is. It's great. The key is you want to select the thread that matches your base fabric. You don't want it to be another design element because, frankly, it looks kind of nasty, right? So always select a fabric, a thread that matches the base, and nobody will ever know it. Nobody will ever know it. And then, you know, you can get creative. Like here we have Olivia stitched out, and I made that base oval. So it kind of creates like a whole frame.
Yeah, an element or part of the design. And, you know, really there's lots of fabrics that benefit from that nap block.
Absolutely.
And most any throw would.
Right. Now, normally I would not add a water-soluble topper when I'm using a nap blocker because it's overkill. But because of this chenille being so loopy, you know, it would catch on my foot. So I just put it down, use a basting stitch, and better safe than sorry.
And that would let you walk away from the machine.
Right, which I did. Absolutely. Because, you know, up to that point, it's like fingers crossed, right? Yeah. So they are fun projects to throw. So let's see what kind of questions we have. Gail is saying, watching your Facebook group with my new Windows 10 tablet. Lucky you. Hope you're enjoying that.
Oh, I know Gail. I know Gail has our software, so
Does
can
she?
use. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
so she can
good.
use that
Yeah.
trick.
Yeah, I wonder how many people out there that are watching use PEP, because, and PEP is Perfect Embroidery Pro. That's the software that we sell. It's the full digitizing program. Oh my gosh, we love it. You get it at your local dealer. So if that's what you're interested in, that's what we have. But Deborah, you have so many tips on stabilizer, needles, toppers, all of that you created a product called the Embroidered Compass, which is, it's a Bible, literally. It is. I hang this. I have in my sewing studio, which I'm going to share in a couple weeks on Facebook Live, is I have my PAL 2 over my hoop mat, and I have a centering ruler on a little ribbon hanging from PAL 2, and I have this on a chain hanging from PAL 2. And those tools all together, I can do any embroidery project I want. So this is very unique. Deborah, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this is a wheel design, and it's got an arrow that you point to the fabric you want to embroider. And then in the first window, it tells you my recommendation for a stabilizer. And sometimes there's more than one.
Right.
There's no one single stabilizer for any project. So I tell you which ones I would use, including topping, if any. Then the next window has the needle type.
Yeah, here, I'll bring that up a little bit closer.
Last window has any other tips I have about working with that
which
fabric.
Is down here.
And one of the reasons that I made this tool. Oh, yeah, it's got
7 fabrics. Wow.
Situations.
That's awesome.
But one reason I made it is because I forget too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might be years before we do another charmeuse or whatever that fabric is. And when I wrote my first book on difficult materials, on the cover photo, I'll never forget, I had a beautiful charmeuse scarf.
Yes, I remember.
And yes, I did. And so, I thought, wow, this is so drapey. I'm going to use a nice, soft, no-show cutaway.
Right.
Be great, And it puckered. And so then I thought, oh, I know what I did wrong. I should have used a fusible. That would nail it in place, and that'll still be drapey. And do you know, it puckered. And so I thought, I need to get back to basics, because a stable fabric, you're supposed to use a tearaway. And so when I used a tearaway, guess what? It didn't pucker. So I learned some things that I thought I better start recording these things. And often, it really is a matter of just getting down to the basics and following some of the guidelines that generally don't vary. But when there is a variance, it's nice to have a tool like this to refer to. And, just as important as those stabilizers are the needles, because in that example that I used, for example, if we all like to do quilting cottons, right? And when you use a ballpoint needle on those quilting cottons, they have a tendency to pucker. But when you use a sharp, which my compass will recommend, then it gets a cleaner penetration and you reduce that puckering. So I do like to use it myself. I keep it by my machine. Easier than a stack of papers or going to the computer.
Yeah. And, we have somebody from Shannon Fabrics is in the audience. So, hey, thanks for watching. But, Shannon Fabrics makes that gorgeous cuddle fabric that we all love. And that can be a challenge to embroider on. But I know that you have solutions in here for that.
Absolutely. And that and many of the fabrics that we've shown today, they're all on here.
That's right.
And as well as lots more, because, this has had several versions.
Okay.
Because we keep having new
things
fabrics
change. That's
come
right.
on the market.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Whenever we have, like those moisture wicking shirts,
golf shirts, athletic
shirts,
wear, they're very challenging
those
to embroider on.
Those fabrics have changed a lot in the last few years. So I keep the compass up to date. So whenever we have changes in the fabrics we like to embroider, I like to update the compass.
Right. And it's a very reasonable buy. So, if you invest in a new one every 2 years so you have the most current information, it's smart embroidery move, I would say.
You know what? I think it might be one of my favorite Christmas gifts.
Is that right? Yeah.
Set.
Why not? Why not? Because, boy, I know I keep it right next to my machines. When she's not in her office, well, at least I have this. right?
Well, we've enjoyed embroidering lots of different
Yeah.
types of fabrics together.
Mhm.
And, at Christmas time, we're not just doing throws, we're doing velvets. We may be doing Christmas stockings.
Right.
We may be doing lots of different types of fabrics we don't deal with day to day throughout the year. So
That's
it's a
right.
good time to have that compass on
Yeah.
hand. And if
I-
you're doing gifts, you want to be sure if you're doing that golf shirt or whatever,
Yeah.
you want to be sure it comes out nice.
Right. I mean, look at my beautiful pom-pom, throw. Well, I didn't buy 2 or 3 of these, you can bet, right? I just
Right.
bought one. Sometimes on a less expensive item, maybe you get 2 to make sure that you have one in case something goes wrong. You wouldn't do that on a nice throw like that. So best to, know exactly what you're doing beforehand. So we are back here next week on February 6th, I think, right?
Oh, Joanne
February
Banco,
6th. What is she saying?
Joanne Banco has a great comment, and I just want to bring up her question.
Okay.
This is one of my pet peeves, actually, Joanne Banco. When people say, she says, sometimes you see people saying, if you wear it, don't tear it.
Okay.
Because what they're talking about is really a golf shirt. You wouldn't use a tearaway. You
Right.
would use a cutaway. But we also wear denim. We also wear all kinds of fabrics,
Sure.
fishing shirts, lots of things that we
Cotton.
would use a tearaway with.
Yeah.
So sometimes these sayings may sound catchy,
Uh-huh.
but often, they're they only apply to certain situations. So indeed, if you wear it, you might want to tear it. and you hear other sayings of this type. But thanks for bringing that up, because Joanne says, rightly so, that could be confusing to some people.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes it's good to, when we hear things of this type, to test them out and don't necessarily
Buy right into it.
And make a mistake.
Yeah. Deborah has also always told me to approach embroidery with common sense. And, I often have to second guess myself and just ask, does this make common sense, right?
And
how stable is the fabric?
Right.
Do we want that? Can the stabilizer, will it be visible after the embroidery is finished and in use?
And will it support that embroidery after it's been washed?
Right.
Those kinds of questions are always appropriate to ask yourself, because, I've often someone will say to me, well, I used a tearaway on that knit shirt and it looked fine. And I say, well, great. How did it look after it was washed? I don't know. I gave it away, and so we give away so many of our projects. It's a good idea to know how they look after they're launder.
Yeah. So Stephanie Schroeder here has asked, how long have we both been embroidering? Well, at least she didn't ask us what size dress we wear, but, right? So I started in probably around 1991 is when I started as a home embroiderer. And really, I am still just like you. I mean, I started as a home embroiderer. It was a hobby. It turned into a business, but I still love it like a hobby. Absolutely. My husband, he'll say, Eileen, you are working all weekend. And yeah, I am, but I still like it, right?
Right.
So, and how about you, Deborah? You go a little further back.
A little further back, but my father was an embroiderer, so I was kind of raised in it, and we had those automated machines before we had the home machines, and so I started in the 70s. But it doesn't matter. No matter how long you've been embroidering, there's always something to learn and to share with each other. But it's been a great ride.
It has been. And, Deborah has a vast expertise in the commercial side. So you and I know her on the home side, but wow, on the commercial side, you've been a production manager, you've been in sales on the commercial side, you had your own shop.
Right. And it's been a lot of fun because, I will share with you one reason I feel a little bit confident about sharing this information with you is because I used to, as Eileen said, run machines that did 12 items at a time. And so when you make a mistake 12 at a time, you remember which stabilizer you used.
Absolutely. Yeah, we think we have problems, right, when we mess up one item, but when they have 12 heads all linked together, that's a big problem.
It can be.
Yeah, I'm not going there for sure. Right. Okay. So, let's see. Joanne, thanks for your comments. We most certainly appreciate that. And Lois, it's nice to see you here. Lisa Schwartz, thanks for joining us. Teresa Uber, Yeah, we've had a lot of fun here today. And boy, Deborah is always a wealth of information. I'd like to thank her for joining us today. And we're going to see you back here next Thursday at 1 o'clock for our final gift, gift number 1. And it is, again, a crowd favorite, something that you can find locally and embroider and have under your tree for all your family.
Well, I'll be watching for sure.
Great.
Thanks, Eileen.
You bet, Deborah. Great to have you here. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.